Welcome to the May 18th OpenJ9 community call. Please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees just so we know who's been attending the calls. And we will jump down to the series. Before I jump down to the lightning talk, I'll just pause for a minute and ask if there's any other items that need to be added to the agenda today. Then, Lan, do you have a lightning talk ready for today?
Yes, I do.
Right. Do you want to take over the sharing?
Yeah, I will share my screen. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, perfect. So like we mentioned last week, we will do a series of lightning talk on the test-related topics. So I will start today as the first one. Basically, it's a testing 101. This is going to be a really simple, basic one. I just want to set up basically foundation to let new people to know what to do if you get to find an issue and you need to reproduce the failure, where to start. And next week, Masba is going to talk about specific system custom target and how you reproduce a system test failure. So without further ado, let's get started. I just grabbed this issue from OpenJ9. So let's just say in this scenario that I got assigned this issue, how I reproduce this failure. So the first thing I was looking for is what is the test? What test failed? In this case, it's pretty obvious, security test and a score 0. And the next thing I'm looking for is there a job link or rerun in Grindr link? There's no rerun in Grindr link, but luckily I have a job link that provided for me. And sometimes the link is expired. I will talk about in that scenario what you should do. But in this case, I'm lucky the link is still there. Okay, so once you click on this link, usually we'll see two links in the job. One is rerunning Grindr, and another one is rerunning Grindr on the same machine. So the only difference, they're the same. The only difference is rerun in Grindr on the same machine. It will also capture the machine name into the Grindr parameters, and the job will only run on that particular machine. So let's look at the rerunning Grindr. And in this case, all the parameters are pre-populated for me, so you will use exactly the same SDK, so I don't need to change anything. The only thing that user need to change is the target, because this job is running for a subset of extended functional, which runs for 4 hours and 47 minutes. You probably don't want to rerun the whole thing, because we just want to focus on this particular test here. So what the user should do is copy this target and paste in here. And that's it. You can click on build. That's all you want to do. That will rerun in this Grindr. So some people would, if you don't have the permission in OpenJ9 Jenkins, then you can go to a Jenkins that you do have a permission. So internal Jenkins, for example, as long as that they have a Grindr. So adopt OpenJDK Jenkins or internal Jenkins both will do. So in this case, what I should do here is I go to the internal HYC Jenkins, for example, because I have a permission in that one, and I copy the domain and come back to this rerun OpenJ9 rerunning Grindr. I just replace the domain. So everything before the /job, I replace that. So what it does is actually carries over all the parameters from that link into the HYC Jenkins. So same thing, I don't need to do anything except changing the target, because again, we only want to focus on this security test and score 0. So that's pretty much how you use rerun in Grinder to run the job. Just quick look at the rerun in on the same machine. It's the same thing. The only difference is if you look at the label, it's pre-populated with exactly the same machine that the job runs on. So that's just a quick link for the user if they want to, suspect there's something wrong with the machine or we want to run a reproduce on this particular machine, then that you can click on this link. Okay, coming back. Say I'm unlucky. The link is already purged. I don't have access to it. There's no rerun in Grinder link. What should I do in this case? Well, if you look at the job name, it pretty much tells you all the information that you need to do. So it's a test. It's running on OpenJDK 8. It runs on OpenJ9, and the target is extended.functional, and then the platform is PPC64LE. Okay, so you basically let's go to your Grinder, and then in this case we just say build with parameters. So we know our platform is PPC64LE Linux. By the way, if you don't remember, you can just always copy from the job. It's exactly the same thing, right? And then we know that we're running extended.functional. That means our build list is functional. So if we're running the test called sanity.extended in this, sanity.system, then our build list will be system in that case. Okay, target is security test. And then in this case, we don't know what SDK link I need to put in, but we can always use the adopt OpenJDK API. So we're using SDK source nightly, and we download from, in this job link, it's already tell you it's OpenJDK 8, OpenJ9. So we say JDK version 8 and JDK import OpenJ9. Oops. Oh. And you get it. So if the test job says OpenJDK 11, OpenJ9, then you put 11 here instead of 8. And then that's it. And you just click on build. The job will go try to find the PPCLE Linux and run this test with SDK JDK 8 and OpenJ9. So that's really, really basic. I don't want to get into too much details because we're going to continue this series. So this is really basic of when I get this issue, how I reproduce it. In the future, we'll continue to talk about more in depth, like how I launch multiple grinders with one click. How can I do parallel in grinder? How I try to reproduce if the issue is intermittent, and specific topic on how to run OpenJDK customer as well. So I think I will stop right now. Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment that is to say, thanks, Lan.
No problem.
You can see that it would be beneficial for people reporting issues to right click and add the rerun and grinder link right to this GitHub issue. Right. I know we suggested that to people before, but as you're raising issues in the OpenJ9 repo, think about what the next person has to do in order to go and triage further or verify something. There are these quick links that can be helpful.
Yeah, so the quick easy way to do this is right click on rerun grinder and copy link address. It will copy the link and then you can just paste in that issue.
Sounds like something we should add to the issue templates as well.
I believe we had it there, but I should double check in the OpenJ9 template. I know we added it to the adopt one. Yeah.
Okay, I will stop sharing. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Lan.
No problem.
Right. Just pop open the user-raised issues and we'll take a quick look at the recent ones that have come in. There's a question that came in around stack overflows and our handling of them, which I believe we just allow the stack to grow slightly to handle that stack overflow exception if we're already at the limit. So should be a fairly straightforward thing to answer. Pete, I see you raised one about mixed refs not switching to non-compressed.
Yeah, so that's a bug that we'll be fixing for the next release.
The rest of these look to be quite a bit older, so let's get back to the agenda. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to skip over the download trends unless anybody really wants to pull those up and discuss them now. Then we will jump into our roadmap discussions. And there was a question about running the extended OpenJDK testing at the OpenJ9 project. Pete, you were going to circle back to this at some point. Is this still on your to-do queue?
Yeah, it's still on my to-do. I haven't had a chance to do another run of the tests.
You'll see that Simon's been cleaning them up pretty aggressively, the OpenJ9 failures.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I think he's nearly fully green now with OpenJ9, with the exception of a couple what looked to be real failures. He's cleaned up the test stuff, related stuff.
Yeah, from what I've seen in the past, anything that's not green might be a machine issue. So we'd need to have time to fix up the machines, figure out how to do it and fix up the machines in order to get them green if they're not already.
Yeah.
For this CMake performance discussion, Marius?
So I ran some startup experiments using the PMA machines, and on there I've seen, let's say, a regression, if you can call it that way, of 0.7%, but the confidence interval is 0.4 on both sides. So I would say this is noise. Even if it's a true regression, it's so small that it's not worth investigating.
Okay.
So statistically speaking, it's not a regression, but on the average, we find a very, very tiny regression. I'm in favor of closing the issue.
Okay, that sounds reasonable to me. So why don't we get that closed out then, and I'll remove this from the agenda for the next one of these calls. Thanks, Marius, for tracking that down. For the 0.27 release, we got our code split coming up on June 6th. And if we take a look at our milestone plan, we still have 103 open items. So there's a lot of items in here with a rapidly shrinking timeline. So if you own some of these items, or there's ones in your area, please take a bit of time to do a pass over this list and move things out that won't be completed, or get the appropriate focus on ones that will be. If you need some help to figure out whether something should be moved or needs to be fixed this release, please reach out to the various area leads and get some help there, or to one of the project leads, and we'll get all that sorted out with you. One of the major things in the 0.27 release for us is we're still targeting that OpenJDK method handle migration. Babneet, do you have an update there?
Hey Dan, there's no major update from last week. We're still working on fixing functional failures. I will give an update on the perf data that the JIT team was supposed to collect. And I think they will take more time to collect the perf data. So I'm hoping in the next week or two, we should have some perf data to show how we stand in comparison to OpenJ9 method handles and how we stand in comparison to OpenJDK. Other than that, I don't have any other update. Back to you, Dan.
I'm just a little concerned when you say in the next week or two, because that starts to hit our code split date. Is there any way to move up that validation of the performance work to make sure that we're in a reasonable place to make that switch?
Or maybe
Code split.
I can talk back to the JIT members and see how much time they will take. I haven't discussed with them, so it was just a guess on how much time they may take to run perf data. Because I think one of the members was on leave last week, so he just started running. This week he will start running the performance benchmarks. So I can touch base with him and post an update in this Google Doc on when we will get the perf data.
That would be appreciated. Just we're getting closer and closer to that code split date, and
Yes,
to be prepared
agreed.
for this. Is there anything else people wanted to call out for the 0.27 release? I've added a section for the 0.28 release and linked to the milestone plan there. I have not started trying to pull together dates for that yet. Pete, I don't know if you have already.
No, we could use the usual formula, but I don't know. We don't need to plan for 0.28 before we've done 0.27, really.
All right, so I think we can leave those empty for now. Just be aware of some of the features that may be tracking towards 0.28 so that we have enough runway to get them in. Shelley, do you have an update for Adopt for us?
Nothing very important. We finished moving all of the repos over. The Eclipse Adoptium project tracks the milestones for getting the first Eclipse Tamarin build out. So our first milestone is May 26th, where we're going to attempt to build the big three platforms and on JDK8 with the vendor updates and using the Eclipse Foundation certificates. We will drop the TCK portion of that milestone, given that we do not have the signatures from Oracle that we need. But otherwise, you can track, and I'll update the notes here, you can track the 3 different milestones we have between now and July for what we intend to lift up as we go forward. So first milestone next week, still targeting that as being Mac, X Linux, and Win64 on JDK8. And we will be pushing those builds to the Adoptium webpage because we do have an agreement with, or Eclipse Foundation has an agreement that says they're allowed to publish nightly builds as long as there's a note in the release that says it's a beta build. So that's the plan.
And that's next week?
Yeah, May 26th. And I'll add a link so that people can find those milestones. There's a milestone 2 and a milestone 3 as well, with more things obviously added into it.
So is that just hotspot builds, or will there be any OpenJ9 builds?
For now, that's just Tamarin builds, so just hotspot. We, I don't know if you noticed, but we also got hit with the request for many different types of updates and locking down our server, and even as far as stripping out links to adoptopenjdk.net from websites, and we're going through the rigmarole of getting all of those things updated, which apparently is one of the holdbacks on getting the signature that we require. But yeah, I think both OpenJ9 and Adoptium projects are being scrutinized at the moment for looking at Eclipse Foundation, looking at them and trying to comply with whatever it is they agreed to with their member named Oracle.
I have a question about the builds that adopt OpenJDK. The last one I've seen, it's May 7th. So it's because of this transition, and that's the last one that we'll ever see there.
Yeah, I think so. So one of the things with Lan's lightning talk today that I didn't mention but will want to mention, for nightlies for OpenJ9, I'd like for us on the test side to update to pick up nightly builds from another API, because as you may be aware, we're not going to be allowed to publish nightlies of non-Tamarin builds. So that includes Dragonwell, that includes Bisheng, that includes OpenJ9. So we'll want other mechanisms to point at to be able to pick them up. My intent is still to be able to both be able to build them and be able to pick them up from other locations. So we'll have to work out where those other locations are. But yeah, we're locked down now.
We appreciate your efforts in that area, Shelley.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is there's no legal stand against continuing to have the Aquabeat project focus on all types of JDK binaries, and I've made it clear that that is critical to our success. So everyone is aware from the working group and in the PMC that that is the intention, and everyone has agreed that that is what we will be doing.
Adam, is there an update in terms of machines?
We're just working on the Ubuntu 16 upgrades, so probably we've got the two Maris ones are almost done. The OSU ones are half done, and then we have to do UMB after that. But those are more destructive because we also have to take down the hosts to do those as well. So we'll have to plan that at a later over the coming weeks. So it's less destructive.
Thanks, Adam. Devin, do we have an update on CMake?
Yeah, so for the ZOS port stuff, there's a couple of outstanding OMR PRs. I have all the comments addressed on those. So I'm just going back now and poking people to get those merged in. I think there's 3 of them or so. And then there was one on the OpenJ9 side that Pete had a comment on, and I just patched that up now. And that should be it for the Thoth stuff. And then in terms of cross-compiling stuff, I have a version which is working on my local machine. And so it's just a matter of kind of packaging that up and getting rid of the hacks to get that ready to get merged in, which I expect to do by the end of the week.
Marius, do we have an update on JIT server?
So in the last week, we delivered JIT dump support for JIT server so that we can have an easier job of debugging crashes in the compiler at JIT server. And we are investigating a so-called memory leak, but we determined that it's not a true memory leak. It's a small persistent memory growth due to fragmentation. So we're trying to solve that.
See, the next microJIT meeting is scheduled for
this week. Thursday. Yeah.
An update on the snapshot restore work. we've shifted our focus from doing the snapshot restore at the VM level to using CRIU to do the snapshot restore, and are building up the capabilities we need to be able to do that both at the VM level and then working with the class libraries and applications above to identify what kinds of hooks and things they would need. So this gives us hopefully a place that we can collaborate with others that are working on CRIU to build a common set of hooks to address the snapshot restore piece being done with CRIU. This doesn't pre-close coming back at some later point and doing the snapshot at the VM level, but this seems like a faster path forward to get this kind of functionality out to users. It was suggested that we talk about Loom regularly, and so we do need to identify whoever's the owner on that or whoever's been involved in this right now. So if there is somebody who wants to self-identify as being active in looking at the Loom work and can regularly give us an update, that would be appreciated.
So Jack is the owner. So I will talk to him after this call to let him know that I should keep that stuff updated.
And a similar request for Panama.
Yeah, so for the foreign linker stuff, Chang is the owner. He's been looking at the foreign memory access work, but for the most part, that's fairly closed out. It's actually being merged in the next release, so instead of having two separate JEPs, it's going to be a singular JEP with most of the focus being on the foreign linker API. So we can put Chang as the main go-to there, and Badney can just add in anything else related to the memory access APIs.
Hi, Dan. I'm on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Yeah, we currently already have phase 1 primary support code review still on review, and we're moved toward phase 2 and 3 to support the struct. The code changes we're still preparing the code change, and there might be some issues with Windows. Hopefully, we should be ready for next 2 weeks, but it depends on how difficult it is. So yeah, that's short-term plan.
Thanks, Chang.
Thanks.
I can also provide an update for the foreign memory access API.
Okay.
So the only thing missing is how scope memory accesses are supported. OpenJ9 is missing that support. And I think I've laid out all the changes and a design on how we can support this in OpenJ9. And I think we only need someone to implement that design. And I think it will be picked up by one of the co-ops in the next month or two, or in the next month, so that we can meet the JDK 17 deadline.
Sounds good. The other item here is, we had locked down our Artifactory and made it password protected. And there has been some issues with our Jenkins being turned off. It's back on again now, and we're working through what we need to do there with the foundation. I think there's sort of a limit to what can be discussed there. So I realize it's a nuisance to have things going up and down, but we are working through that. And the next call is May 25th, unless there's anything else that we need to discuss today.
May I have a suggestion regarding lightning talks? So my concern is access on demand to these lightning talks in the future for people. So at least I guess we need to create some box or page with links to this recording for all of them. Or ultimately, I don't know, maybe it should be even extracted an entire meeting recording and have a short separate video.
So it's a good suggestion, Dimitri. What I have been doing when I upload the videos to the YouTube page, and I think there's a link to that from the top, so you can find the YouTube channel here. When I upload them, I do have a playlist that that links to Lightning Talk. So see what so you can find all the Lightning Talks paused here, and I usually put a description in there of what the Lightning Talks are, so you can find them if you want them.
Yeah, but maybe we need something dedicated for this, just for this lightning talks for this test things. We have no slides, right? Just only some recording left.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's not a thing I have time to do the video processing to edit them out, but if there is somebody who wants to step up and do that, I'm happy to help them get access to the recordings.
Where do you store the raw recordings, Dan?
I don't typically store them. I just have them from wherever Blue Jeans provides them.
Okay.
So I can download them and make them available, at least ones that haven't already become outdated. I don't know how long Blue Jeans keeps old recordings for me. I'd have to dig into that.
I will volunteer, Dan. I think I can edit videos quickly. So we just want to extract the Lightning Talks from these videos. Am I correct?
Yeah,
that's my understanding.
Okay, I can do that. It's only going to take a few minutes for me. If I'm given the video, I can do it in a few minutes and then upload the video where it's accessible.
All the videos are on YouTube, right?
I can download one of those videos and edit them or extract the Lightning Talk from them as well. But I'm not sure if it's... I will have to see if I can download YouTube videos. I think they have changed a few policies. So...
Okay. If you want to give that a try, Babney, that might be a good starting point. And otherwise, we can figure out how to pass around the recording files.
Okay. I will provide an update by next week.
Toby, were you going to add something? No, just basically that. I wasn't sure that you can download videos from YouTube. So my concern was that we would need the actual files, but I guess we can try first. If it doesn't work, we can figure that out later.
All right. Then if there's nothing else, thanks everybody, and we'll meet again in a week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.